All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Prospect Podcast. I am Coach Derek DePascal. Joining us in a few minutes will be Coach David Schumann. As always, episode number 202. Great guest on today, Coach Michael McKeown from Collingswood High School here in Jersey. 24 years in total. 9 years as the head coach. So really a staple at a Group 2 school down in, South Jersey. Done some really good things there. Coach, really appreciate you taking the time. We know it's busy season, so for you to kind of carve out a little bit to get on with us, Coach, we really appreciate it. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm glad to be on the show. I love things like this. So talking football at any time is it's in my blood. So I'm sure, like you guys, but I'm proud to be on.
Appreciate it, Coach. Coach, dive into your background a little bit, where you're from, kind of how you got into coaching, playing days, let our viewers know kind of where you came from and how you ended up where you're at right now.
Yeah, so I'm a Collingswood alumni. So I'm coaching where I graduated high school. My family's been there for over 50 years. I'm originally from South Philadelphia, though, so got to give my my roots and some from South Philly. But I really got into coaching. I never had any goals of getting coaching. I went out of high school. I went and played at LaSalle University with Coach Manlove. Set some school records
Great
there.
School.
Set some school records there at wide receiver. Obviously the school shut down football.
I was actually for me, I got a quarterback from there.
Yeah. So, once I got out I was offered a basketball job right out of middle school. I mean, at high school, at Collingswood Middle School. And then Coach Bricky, who's my high school coach, asked me if I was interested in coaching football. And at first I was just like, I was kind of young and, didn't really have any interest in doing it. But I said, let me volunteer. So I liked it. And I did. And, it's something that, growing up, I look back and at the time I talked to my mom and my dad and my grandfather that, I always say college would kind of save me. You know what I mean? I was a kid that was, heading in the wrong directions. You know how it is. Middle school, I was a little rough around the edges, coming from like South Philly with my dad's on the weekends and coming over to school in New Jersey. And college football kind of got me on the right path. So, I kind of saw where Collingswood was then and some of the kids. And I just wanted to, be involved in their lives and trying to keep those guys in the straight and narrow. And, my big philosophy is never give up on a kid. So if people would have gave up on me, man, like I don't know where I'd be at. So, I try to stick by that philosophy still as a coach 24 years later. So, it's just something that, I didn't really have the passion to do at the very beginning, but now it's my way of life. It's like for coaching football, and now I'm a girls basketball coach at Collingswood is something that like I don't see myself not doing. So, I love it, and it's something that's built into my daily plan. You know what I mean? So it's my wife's great. Everybody knows you have to have a great family, a great wife to support you doing these kinds of things. And she just knows. She understands it. She understands it. And like yesterday we got team camp for 9 hours at RV Monday and Tuesday. And I get home until 8:00 at night and then I had to go to a basketball game and she didn't bat an eye. So she took care of the family at home. And but it's just like I said, coaching is it's harder and harder. It's getting harder and harder. I got to say that in these day and age. But I wouldn't give it up for anything. People, no one's in the coaching industry to make a lot of money, but I don't want to. You know what I mean? I want to change kids' lives.
Which look, this game has saved a lot of us in certain way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? And I don't know many guys that when you get asked that question in, second grade, what do you want to be when you grow up? Say, I'd love to be, a high school coach, right? Like not many guys say that unless your dad or somebody was a coach, you're living at the field. So, it's kind of one of those professions that you either just fall in love with it because one, like, look, and I feel exactly the same way about it, right? Like you don't coach for the money, you coach because you love affecting young guys' lives and what coaches and the game has done for you, right? And you just kind of follow suit with that and you try and live up to those standards and those expectations that you, one, set for yourself, but two, now you go and set for your program. And you kind of just, it's the most rewarding thing is seeing those young guys accomplish those dreams. Or those, we see a guy come in as a scrawny little freshman and then leave as the captain of your team, or even those guys that don't go on to play ball, but now, hey, they're a officer, or they're a functional part of society, right? I think that's why a lot of us kind of get into that and kind of move forward. Talk a little bit about, your program and kind of some of the philosophies and the staples that kind of go along with it. What is Wood football?
Well, I mean, I took over a program that, Coach McConnell, I was assistant coach for him for about 10 years before the coach. I was assistant coach for Coach Brickian before Coach McConnell took over. And, we really built the program up through our youth program. So, I started a youth program in town about 13 years ago that really, gave us the jolt that we needed to start making some serious runs in the a lot of our, we do it with our own in-district kids. And I know at this day and age, it's hard to say, but like it's, we're not a choice program. We have a choice program, but it ain't a choice program for sports. So, we do it with our own homegrown type of kids. And that's kind of how we try to build a program. We're a family, we eat together every Thursday. We have, our culture, it kind of fluctuates, you know what I mean? So it's a standard that we try to, ingrain in our kids. Some buy it, some don't. But again, like on my philosophy, I'm never going to give up on a kid. I'm going to keep trying to grind my way and trying to make that kid understand that, football is teaching him about life. You know what I mean? Wins and losses, there's no one more competitive than me. But at the end of the day, right. If you invite me to your wedding, I did a really good job. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how we look at
100%.
it. So, this year we're going with the motto of like, it's time to eat. You know what I mean? So, energy and effort is for E, accountability is for A, and toughness is for T. I think, a lot of high school football, we've lost a lot of toughness in a lot of programs. And, we were built on toughness at Collingswood, a nice, it was a small town and we're going to try to get back to that kind of standard of where, we're going to build some tough kids and try to, fight our way through some scenarios that aren't good. Like, kids nowadays, if things ain't easy for them, they pack it up and go on their phone. You know what I mean? So,
transfer portal
this
society,
summer,
right?
I've been proud of my
Transfer portal
guys.
society.
Yeah. So we're proud of our guys. We've had about 48 kids regularly, and we'll see how it goes. But our standards have been the same for the past 15 years, just because it's been a good standard. And we made so much progress. In the last 15 years, we've made the playoffs 10 out of the last 15, I think. The ironic part is, since they shut down our youth program, our town, because of COVID, we haven't made the playoffs. So I used to have this argument all the time. If you have a youth program, you can't win. Like it's, you know what I mean?
Really tough.
You got to keep track of your kids.
Really
so my job's
tough.
a lot harder. I got to find 6 programs where my kids are in to make sure that they come to me. So,
right.
We'll see how it goes this year.
Rather
I think
than
we have a good group. Correct. And it's just, we could implement our system, our offense, our defensive system, which we did in years past. And I can keep track of my kids. Now it's my summer's all over the place, and my son plays. So like I try to push kids into programs where I know that my kids will come back to me. You know what I mean? So it's a matter of trying to mix that together. And at the end of the day, it's to me, like I always tell people all the time, if you don't want to be a part of my program, I'm not one of those guys that goes and going to sit there and call the school district and whatever. But at the end of the day, like we do a lot for our kids. You know what I mean? We do a paintball banquet at the end of the year instead of sitting in the cafeteria handing out stuff. We have team dinners that our family does. We go bowling. Like we do a lot for our kids. Probably
team building.
I'm a big uniform guy.
Good for you, coach.
Yeah.
Good
so like this year, we actually play on 9/11. We play on 9/11 this year, and I got camo uniforms to run out to. So like like I'm one of those guys that tries to do a lot, and our kids just don't get. You know what I mean? And Collins was a very different, diverse of a melting pot than we were when I started. Obviously before I started coaching, but even 10 years ago, it's a different. We have kids from all over kind of backgrounds, and
right.
I say it's always hard to coach here, just not because I'm the coach here, but I mean, you know what I mean. It's not treating kids. Can't really treat kids the same way when it comes to discipline, because kids pick up on that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day,
I call it cookie.
Some of these kids,
cookie cutter.
Are coming from stuff that their background. Yeah,
I call it cookie cutter. You know what I mean? Like
so you understand it. You know what I mean? Where
it's not one stop.
Correct.
It's everybody needs to be addressed individually, and because that's how society is, right? Yes. Well, it's not just it's not a blanket type of situation. Like I said, cookie cutter, right? Like every gingerbread man looks the same. Like, nope. You have to understand how those, like, you got to know your players. You got to know what's going on in their lives, right? And then they understand that you care more about that and who they are rather than just, hey, how many touchdowns can you score for me? Or how far can you throw this ball, right? Like, that's when I feel like kids, that's like now, that's what the youth now, they really need that. Almost, I'm not trying to say it's as individual, like you don't have to be over the top with it, but you got to know something about each kid that makes them tick or what makes them right. And that's when you can really start to see guys trust in what you're doing and understand, like, this guy really gets it for me. And then they'll kind of follow suit, and then that peer-to-peer leadership is what takes it to that next level.
Correct. And like I said, I have a guy on my coach on my staff that coached with me at the very beginning, Tom McKeown. He's a wrestling coach at Gloucester, and he always tell me, man, long as you discipline for an action, doesn't matter what your discipline is. The kids understand you're disciplining that person for somebody. Could be the same with one player, but different from the other player. I always say, like, my wrestlers, I can make my wrestlers run for days. They don't bother them. You know what I mean? But taking a playing time away from them might hurt them worse. You know what I mean? Or vice versa for another 100%. Player. So, like, it's just everything's got to be done in a different way from our guys. And look, man, I'm not the only person that does it this way, but like, I'm an Uber driver. I'm a chef. You know what I mean? Like, I clothe my kid. You know what I mean? Like, every coach does that. You know what I mean? So when people say to me, why are you picking up this kid? Like, every coach has done that in the past. You know what I mean? Because that kid wants to be at practice, but can't get a ride to practice because no one trying, or, it's not, I'm not punishing that kid. You know what I mean? I'm going to find a way to get that kid to practice, man.
Right. Because ultimately, look, a lot of guys say it and they've, hey, I'm in it for the kids, or I want to do that. Right. But are they really about that? I mean, look, we just saw an article come out of Bridgewater, right? Paying for Uber rides for his kids down in South Florida, or hey, like, getting kids gear or whatever it is. And now the school suspends him. Right. So, like, what are we really talking about here? It's not like he was paying players. He should be praised for that. Right. And I'm like that too. Like we understand.
I don't have $70,000 to do it.
Right. I'm not signing it. Right. You're not. I'm not signing a deal to go be the backup for the Lions in December when my season's over. Like, I'm not doing that either. But at the same time, look, it's the same thing as if it's like, hey man, like, we're wearing khakis on Friday. Well, coach, I don't have khakis. All right. Well, guess what, man? Friday morning, go to your locker. There's going to be khakis and a belt in there. No questions asked. Like, you're good. That's the part of coaching that, to me, like, I flock to that type of dynamic and those types of kids when it comes to it. And then because you're giving them an opportunity that without this game, they wouldn't get, right? Somebody's got to give them a chance. It's not their fault that they're in this situation, right? Now, if they don't follow like the stuff, and Dave and I talk about this all the time, right? The guys that come in and they have those hard facet rules, like if you're late, it's this, if it's that. Nah, man, just put general standards there, and then everything comes on a case-by-case basis because you don't really know what's going on in that kid's life. And if you want to put those hard rules, now you got to stay staple to it, right? And that's really difficult. Talk about how that's changed, Coach, in your 24, seasons at Collingswood. How have you seen things changed, or give me like the top 2 things that you've seen changed over those years?
Well, the top 2 things I can definitely change, like I said, is that's our dynamics of the town in itself has changed. Number one, we went from a big white middle class town to, I think our school now is 55 or 56% in the minorities. So we had to adapt as a football program where, when I went to high school, we didn't get many football players from the town of Woodland, which is our sending district, and now we get a lot of our football players from the town of Woodland. So we have 3 high rises that are in our town, in our district, that when I went to high school with 97, they were for the Navy Yard over in Philadelphia. So the Navy Yard people lived in there who worked in the Navy Yard. Now they're all Section 8 housing. You know what I mean? So, so your
socioeconomic situation has changed dramatically within the town.
Yeah, like I pick up the kids from Woodland and drop them off every day. And people say, well, it's not that far of a ride. Well, it might not be far of a ride for you. You know what I mean? Or it's pouring rain. But what do you want me to do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, that's a big, huge part of it, like feeding them. I say it's always like, and where I'm at, man, there's so many little things I have to do as the head coach that like it takes away from the actual part of the football, a lot of it. And it goes in the off season. Like we lift weights at 6 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? As a team. So I'm driving around at 5:15 to make sure some of our guys are, and then we feed them. You know what I mean? So then, like some of my kids are on free and reduced lunch, but they're not eating after that. You know what I mean? So it's like my job to make sure that these guys are eating. And you can lift all the weights you want. If you're not taking care of that body, it's irrelevant to what you're trying to do. So that's number one. And not going to be two, man. Number two is parents. You know what I mean? Parents are, I always tell my kids, I'm not going to stop coaching because of the kids. It's, parents are going to be probably one of the reasons why I step down. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a different day and time. I get it. You know what I mean? I'm a dad myself. My son's, 9 years old. He plays youth football. I'm not the greatest football player in the world, but, they wanted me to coach the youth team. I sit back in my lawn chair and watch them practice and then give them a hug every day. And I'm just like, I want to be a dad. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, but there's so much parental involvement that when things don't go right, it's just complete and utter mayhem. That, like, my rule, most people, my AD actually isn't a fan of it, but like, I tell my parents, come watch practice, man. Come see your kid practice. You know what I mean? Or let's go watch a film of your kid practice. Because if you're there, he'll probably practice harder than what he's really doing when you're not there. So
correct.
And it's just everything's in the AD's office. You know what I mean? Like, why is my kid not starting? And you have to pay $150 to play athletics at Collingswood. So I paid $150. Why is my kid not playing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, he's not the best player on our team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
he doesn't work in practice. No,
is that more of a norm in that area that there's more pay to play districts?
Yeah. A lot of smaller schools have went to the pay to play, and it's for the whole year, so it's not just for football. The crazy part, the money doesn't even go to the athletic department; it just goes into the general fund for the school. But now if you get free and reduced lunch, you don't have to pay. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But the parents, if you're a parent, think about that. They know that. You know what I mean? So in their mindset is, I paid. You know what I mean? Like, well, like, why is my kid not playing on Friday night? Me and his grandma, flew in from Rhode Island to watch him play. Well, you know what I mean? He's not the best player. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like, you know what I mean? Parents. And again, I don't want to I'm a parent. You know, you guys are parents. So like, I know, like, I feel for I understand where they're coming from. You know what I mean? And they're prepared to protect their kids. I totally understand that. But back in the day when we played, like I said, or even 10 years ago, there was no parent ever questioning the coach. You know what I mean? Like, that was just, you know what I mean? Like, I remember I went home from basketball practice. I started basketball as a freshman for Collingswood. And then we had a new coach come in, Coach Doyle from St. Joe's University. And we had tryouts, and he sent me down in a JV, right? I was like, well, what do you mean? I was a starting point guard here as a varsity, as a freshman. And he said, well, go to JV. I went home to my grandparents kind of raised me, and they were like, well, get better. You know what I mean? Like, why are you complaining to me?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, go get better. I don't know. Figure it out, man.
In the old days,
my son did it this year.
Yeah, in the old days, it was more, you might hear there might be rumblings in the stands. Now it just comes all the way down from the stands. So, I think that's a difference too, is that, like, I mean, when I played in high school, you would hear parents that talk to other parents, you'd hear it, but it wasn't, it didn't come all the way down to the coach unless it was something that was obviously,
and then in social media, it doesn't help. I mean, social media hurts.
Everybody has a platform now.
Everybody can go get on a thing and make a fake name on Twitter. I had a couple people make a fake name on Twitter 2 years ago, attacking my quarterback. And, he threw like 13 interceptions in a year, but 9 of them weren't even his fault. Kids dropped the ball, or, the other kid ran a wrong pattern. You know what I mean? Like, so I had to, I'm not defending him, but I knew who the people were who were doing it. We're a small town. Let's be honest. Like, I can find out.
100%. It don't take much. You don't have to be
that Tom's over north here, whereas, all these people are, it's so easy to figure out. So,
right.
But I mean, parents are just, like I said, it's crazy. Like, my son came to me after practice and he's like, well, Dad, I'm like, well, go beat that kid out. Like, I'm not your coach. Go talk to your coach, man. Like, that ain't me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, those are two biggest things I think that, that have changed so much in Collingswood. So it's just, it's trying to, you got to adapt as coaches. Like, you can complain about it, or you try to figure out a way to make it work and adapt, and, and going on from there. So, like, if we got a good group of kids this year. I got, a couple of my cancerous kids are, in the last couple of years, we weeded them out. You know what I mean? Our numbers are pretty okay. For small, like I said, our school itself is getting smaller. And, I think summer is hurting smaller schools football.
Did he cut out?
Did we lose him?
Did we lose him? That was
Oh,
weird.
maybe.
That
Interesting.
was like a hard. It's usually like gradual.
This
that a
was a straight cutout.
That was like a straight cutout. Oh, there, coach.
Oh, there we go, coach. Did we lose you?
We're all good.
Okay.
No, there's no. It's funny going back to the Teddy Bridgewater thing, which I thought was so, in my mind, was crazy. Like Derek, when I was at Powell Park, I bought the team uniforms. It was $12,000 out of my own pocket. So, like, would I have been sanctioned under Florida?
Yes, suspended.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy. Like I literally paid for it
because
we
they're
had
trying to make an example of Teddy Bridgewater. Like, you know what I mean? Because he's that in the spotlight type of guy. He took Northwestern, very inner city, right? Like we know how that program is, and he brought him to the finals in like year one and had a lot of success. So I'm sure there's a bunch of guys that, and look, now I'm sure a lot of kids are. Florida is, it's like open season, like you can transfer and do whatever within your county. So I'm sure a lot of kids are like, hey, I want to go to Northwestern. These coaches that are losing guys are pissed, and they're like, well, he's paying for this, he's paying for, sorry dude, he can. And he actually, like, like you said, he has the ability. I'm sorry, go
like
be a hedge fund guy
for everybody back
like he created Dion created a school for his kid. Like he built it. So like, what are we talking about?
Guy was painting the fields and they're mad at it. Guy
he's like they're pissed. Like, hey, he's probably doing somebody's job who like isn't doing their job. You know what I mean? And didn't say shit about it, right? Like, all right, buddy, I'll take care of it. And they want to do it. They're trying to make an example. It's just so asoine. It's like backwards thought.
Yeah, Florida. There's so many issues with like transferring, and
it's very petty.
Bad. It's so bad that it becomes petty between probably coaches. My guess that like between coaches and stuff like that. Like
Mike talks about it all the time at Heritage. You know what I mean? Like he talks about like if a kid transfers to me, now all of a sudden like I'm the target of that school that he left because I did something or I recruited him or I brought him in, and it's like. I don't know. If you don't want kids leaving your school, in my eyes, just get better. Like, what do you want to do? Make an appealing program so they don't want to leave. Like, shit, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
in today's world, you're not going to appeal to everybody all the time either. Like, it's just as coaches, that's the hardest. I mean, 15 years ago, I would always chase guys. If something was going wrong, and I never chase, at all anymore. Even like with youth. So coach was talking about his son's 9 years old. My son's 10 years old, and I coach his team. So, but it's great because, I mean, obviously I was a high school coach for 20 years, so that probably helps. But it's like I set the stage with the parents. And there are parents that have left my team because they, what I do. And I say, that's all right. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you got to find a place that's right for you. And if this isn't, I can't be right for everybody. You know what I mean? Like, I can only do things to the best of my ability and to the coach, and with the coaches around me. And it's almost like, it's addition by subtraction sometimes. Right. So, and it has zero, like, that's the other thing is like parents, it's important for them to understand that it's not just about your kid's ability. Your kid's ability is part of the picture, So, yeah, our coach is a little more, I mean, every coach is a little more lenient with a kid that has more ability, not standards wise, but as far as, okay, let me talk to him a second time. You know what I mean? Like, that's just human nature. Okay. Right. Not everything is created equal. There are athletes that are better than others. That's very true. But if your headache becomes bigger than your ability, then there becomes a wash for the team. And so there becomes a point. And every coach has a different point. You know what I mean? Every coach has a different thing, what they're willing to deal with and not deal with. To me, I always think that it's important at the end of the day, when I go home at night, am I tossing and turning over this person over and over and over again? And is it weighing on my family? If it is, then I'm going to have a conversation with that parent and say, hey, listen, if you don't like what's going on, you have to find another solution, and it's not that we don't like your kid. We do like your kid. It's that not everything is going to go exactly the way that you want it. And if it doesn't go exactly the way you want it, and you're supremely not happy and there's no solution, then you have to find another solution, and you should. That's my biggest thing. Is like you should find another solution. Now, part of the culture which I think is frustrating for coaches, especially in high school now, and you guys are still in it. I haven't coached high school, and this will be my 5th year. I haven't coached in. So, but the part of the frustrating nature is in football. There's not as many kids playing football in as many places. There are some places where they are. Derek's in a place where you have a good amount of kids. But it's not in every place is not the same. So you're trying to make sure you keep everybody in that you can,
right?
And try to make it inclusive. And football is one of the few sports that doesn't cut, or which is what I think is great about football. But one of the things I always say is, like, just because we don't cut doesn't mean that, like, it's the right place for you. You know what I mean? You don't get to just run around and do whatever you want because we don't cut. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
If you're not on board, it's going to be an uncomfortable place for you, and that's just the reality of it. And I think with parents, too, the other thing is, like, filtering, like. And because I'm in it now at the youth level, where I was in high school, I was huge, come watch practice. You want to meet with me, I'll meet with you all day. If you want to meet and talk about it, okay. And I'll just realize if you're coming and meeting with me, that I'm going to tell you the truth as I see it relative to the team that I'm coaching. You don't have to agree with it, but this is going to be the truth as I see it. Doesn't mean you agree with me. Doesn't mean you like it. This is how we see it for the team. And that's what the greater picture is. With youth parents, which I found is a little more, it's good and bad, I think. With youth parents, they'll push until you don't respond.
Cave in.
Yep. So once you like, sometimes I have a couple parents, they have a few pops them on a Saturday night and to send me crazy texts. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you know what? I learned, like, I don't even respond. And guess what? There's no issue. Like, it's like literally like this person writing on a piece of paper, which has changed. In the old days, right? Of like when email became big, you used to say, all right, you're really mad about, what your boss is doing to you. Write the email out, draft, and then delete it, right?
Yeah.
Well, they actually hit send now. That's the difference.
Yeah.
They hit send, right? So where they should just write that draft and then delete it, and then the next morning come back and say, hey, I have a question about this, and it'd be a lot easier. So I kind of learned to filter that out, and I think that they've learned that if I'm not responding, that means that I don't think it's relevant. Yeah. And that's a hard thing for parents, but you know what? It also gives them a message that, you can't do it. Now, youth is different than high school, because high school you have administration.
That's what I was just going to ask you that, Coach, to be honest with you. I think the biggest –
that's the biggest difference.
People ask me all the time, like, what's the ceiling for Collingswood football? You know what I mean? And to be honest with you, for me to be given an honest report, like, we can't win a state title. We have never won a state title here in 120 years. So what makes you think now, can we win a sectional title? Possibly. You know what I mean? But the problem is, if you really look at all the programs that are extremely, extremely successful now, in 2024, their admin are big time supporters of sports or football programs.
Absolutely.
Most admins now, my AD never really came from sports. Now, she played one sport, but she's not a sports person. She does a great job for me. Right. She'll have my back, but she doesn't know, you know what I mean? Like the ins and outs of how it goes. Let's be honest. How many schools you guys can think off the top of your head where the principal, the AD, and the superintendent are all sports people? You know what I mean?
It's rare now.
When I was head coaching 4 different places, I had it once.
Yeah.
At Indian Hills.
Were you successful?
Were you
successful?
So,
were you successful with that?
No, I was only there. I was there for 2 years. It
Yeah.
was a rebuild program, and we were getting better. But I moved down here and I took another job. So, but that place was going to be. We were on the path to be successful.
Yeah.
But that was, I mean, I was a head coach 13 years of the 20 years that I coached football, and that was the only time. Listen, I took over a program in North Jersey that went from a JV to state took them to the state championship. Okay. And had like 19 to 21 wins streak going. And I could tell you, we were not aligned. Okay. Ultimately I ended up leaving because of that. Okay. So, and so that is so difficult. Like I coached as an assistant at, I would say, 2 places that I think was Riverdale. The second time was aligned. The second, not the first. When DJ first took it over, everybody wasn't aligned. They weren't aligned. So I was there his first year. Then I came back. I was a head coach for a couple of years. Came back as this coordinator. They were 100% were aligned when I came back that second time. And then at Old Japan, obviously this whole run that Dunn's been on. Yeah, I was with him in 2016. I've been his analyst for the last 5 years since I stopped coaching high school. Right. And I could tell you that, and by the way, ironically, the guy who was my AD at Indian Hills for those 2 years is now the AD at Old Japan. So I
ran into both of those guys at the North-South game this year at the bar. So it was a good conversation.
They're awesome guys. and they're aligned.
They are really great dudes. Really,
they're aligned, dude. They're so aligned. So that's a place where it is. Now, you could argue too, like, once you get a guy like Dunn, who was he was from that district. I think he went to Demarest, but he was from that district. And then from the time he took over, I remember when he took over. Like I was a head coach as well at that time, and the first few years it was bad. And then like they gave him the time, and by the time it got to year 6, 7,
got it rolling.
He got it rolling, and now what are we in? Like he's 20 years in, 20 plus years, maybe 25 years in. And now they're in a hunt for state group championships. Right. So it's but that's a demographically a very you would say wealthy district, right? So they have the opportunity that could go bad too, right? But once you get a thing rolling, I think because you have really good support and they're rolling, it builds upon itself. It's the same reason why Ramapo in North Jersey,
Fairhaven now, right?
Rumson down here, right? Like,
they're the same thing.
Haddonfield and Coach Delano's done an unbelievable job down here, like in our South Jersey. You know what I mean? Like it's, it's funny because when I was like an assistant coach and I was calling the offense for 15 years, I would tell my head coach, like, come on, man, like what the hell does the admin have to do with us winning? And then when I became the head coach, I'm like, holy shit, like they have a lot to do with us winning. You know what I mean? So like now our old head coach is one of my good friends, so I always apologize to him, like, you know what I mean? But like,
sorry for giving all that shit for all those.
Yeah, man. Like I'm just like, come on, dude. Like, you know what I mean? But like, it's, you know what I mean? It's the truth. Like I'm still arguing to get my field's not even lined yet in the summer, and we're practicing the summer. I don't even have a lined field. You know what I mean? Like. It's just
in colleges when they're not aligned, you see what happens, right? It's amazing. There's big money on the table in college, right? At Division I, and you find places where they're not aligned, and then all of a sudden you see a good program go bad, or or a program struggle for a few years. And
Coach, you can look at the highest level. Look at the Cleveland Browns. Never aligned, right? Like it just never gets right. They never get it right. Coach, you're already picking the kids up and feeding them. You might as well line the field too. I mean, what the hell?
I mean, listen,
I got a striper for you, Coach, that you could go borrow. I have one.
And again, it's really I don't like to attack my maintenance guys do a really good job, but it's just they don't have time.
No, it's not about that. It's not about that. They're wearing too many hats and they're trying to do so much stuff. Yeah, absolutely, Coach. Totally understand where you're coming from.
What's the saying? I always tell my AD, I mean, like it's I better ask for forgiveness, you know what I mean, and do it myself and then get yelled at. You know what I mean? Like half the times I fill in these forms and like, nothing gets done, but then you yell at me when I use the cafeteria to feed the kids because I didn't put it on the schedule for the day. Well, no one's in here. We clean up the place and I'm feeding 80 kids in our school. Like, you know what I mean? For a meal that they probably haven't had. You know what I mean? So like, why are you complaining? Well, you got to follow the rules. Well, when I do follow the rules, it doesn't work anyway. Like, it doesn't get done anyway. So you know what I mean? Like, it's just, and that's why people, like, you know what I mean? Like, as most football coaches, all of us, you know what I mean, are such a routine, structured, you know what I mean? Like, and once one thing doesn't work for you, you go haywire. So like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm at 7-on-7 at Monmouth, and our kids aren't lining up right properly because the hashing of numbers. Well, I can't be mad at the kids because we don't have hashing numbers on our own field right now. You know what I mean? So like, I'm trying to tell my coaches, stop yelling at these guys. We're using cones. There ain't a cone out here for them to line up on right now. They don't know the difference. You know what I mean? So like, I'm in a dynamics. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like, it's just, to me, like, there's so many things, like talking to like a lot of like Clyde Folsom, a lot of old school coaches. I'm real close with Clyde now because of Battle of the Beach and stuff, where they didn't have to worry about those things. Those things were done. Right. You know what I mean? Like, there's no worrying about. You could give a practice time and everyone showed up. You know what I mean? Like, and let's be honest.
And there wasn't a million excuses as to why they weren't, right? Like, my parents. That's the big difference too, right? Like, and you.
My parents never knew my practice time was. I was charging myself. Like, you know what I mean? How to get to practice at 3 o'clock. You know what I mean? Or 9 a.m. on Saturday. These kids now rely on mom's got to wake me up, my alarm. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't like. You know what I mean? Like, it's so there's so many things as a head coach.
That's a whole different podcast.
Yeah, we stop morning practices. Like, me personally, we don't practice in the morning time. When we go to camp, we do everything at night under the lights. Because my kids work. I'm not worried about getting my Woodland kids there in the morning. And people are like, well, you gotta set discipline. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna set discipline, and 20 kids are gonna show up to practice, or just not. You know what I mean? Just do it the normal way and ask the kids, and I'll have 55 kids at practice. Which one do you think I'm gonna decide? You know what I mean? Like. So like, we just cut that out. Like, you know what I mean? As my first 3 years as head coach, I try to be like, Sergeant Slaughter and get here. You got to get here by 6 a.m. Right. And it's not my kids. You know what I mean? And I was just like, so
it's not their fault. Like you said, it's not their fault that they're in that situation and they just don't. You have to. I think really good head coaches adapt to what their players are. Right. It's the same type of person that's like, hey, we're running this offense. It's like, well, you're going to throw the ball 50 times a game and you don't have a kid that can throw the ball to 5 yards, right? So like, what are we doing? Yeah. Like, I mean, a whole other part, but I think, Coach, you're talking about like, really how much off the field stuff matters when it comes to your program itself. And look, you just referenced it. You haven't had a youth program since COVID, and you haven't made the playoffs since COVID. So, hey, here's the example of, guys, look at the direct correlation of what it is and what it takes. So when you're going to bring me in the office and we're going to have that meeting and talk about wins and losses and that kind of stuff, like, well, what tools are you giving me to make that happen? Right. And that's really difficult to get all those heads aligned, to do the right things. It's really a hard part of the gig now that a lot of people really don't understand, because they think you as the head coach, like, you control everything. Right. And that is just not the case.
A couple of parents come up to me like, "Oh, what happened to your youth program?" Like, it was like we were at 7-on-7. And I'm like, "Oh, this," and it's not the school districts. We have in Collingswood. It's weird. We have a park called Knights Park. It's ran by a Knights Park Commission. It's a huge park in the middle of town. They will not. I think Jesus himself is buried there. It's because you can't go on it. Like, they don't let nobody on this park.
That's funny.
You know what I mean? So like, our youth was using our game field and they destroyed it, man. Let's think about it. You know what I mean? So like the youth. So I don't blame my district by not allowing youth program to go on, because we just don't. It's killing. You know what I mean? It's killing our field, all that kind of stuff. What I blame is that the district in itself allows these 100-year-old rules, you know what I mean? That's 100 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, we're still a dry town. You know what I mean? We have the most restaurants in a town in South Jersey, but we can't. It's a dry, BYOB. But like, my thing is
like Ocean City, isn't Ocean City's like that, right?
Yes. So everything go outside of Summers Point. But like, my thing is like, we have fields, but the Knights Park Commission won't let them be used. Like, well, why? These people are.
Then why do we have them there?
Correct. Right, you know what I mean? Like, and then they're wondering why these kids are doing wheelies down the middle of the street on the summertime, because they have nothing to do. You don't let them use the facilities that we're doing. You know what I mean? So it does. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a youth program for football, more than any other sport, I feel, in my opinion, is the most vital. Again, we all know what's going on with transfer kids. It's the most insane. It's the most insane thing I never thought high school football would get to what it is now. You know what I mean? I lose kids every year to schools, and I'm not going to put the schools out there where I lose kids to whatever. I got 2 of my kids back.
You're in an area where it's a big issue. Big.
Oh, man. You know what I mean? I'm next to Camden.
North Jersey. I mean, like where we are, it happens, but it's definitely not like the Philly area and North Jersey. It's like crazy.
Yeah, like let's take, for instance, Camden Catholic this year, who had a great year last year. They're in my division. They're 9-1, I think, or whatever, 9-2. Their coach, gets let go. Now he's at West Stafford. They've had 18 kids leave the program. And it's all over, like all over Instagram. Like they have a picture where he's going here. So they literally lost 18 kids in the last 3.5 months.
That's like incredible.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say I'm a fan of Camden Catholic because there's years, there's and they take some. I'm right near them, so they try to get my kids. But like my point is,
of course I do.
You can't survive if you're a Group 1 and Group 2 school losing 18 kids. You know what I mean? Now you don't have that many to lose to, but like Camden Catholic this year, they might not have a JV team. They didn't have a JV team last year. You know what I mean? So how are you going to have one this year? You know what I mean? So like that's my thing. Like it's the transfer thing, and the state, they act like they want to get involved in it, and their kind of hands are kind of tied. You know what I mean? From our coaches association, but
they have no financial.
Correct.
As soon as you sue them, they
can't back down. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's no. I think that's, and that's probably throughout the country, other than in some of the states where I would say there's tremendous strength within the administration of the whole state, like maybe Texas and Alabama seems to have a certain level of control. But even states like Ohio, where it was like Ohio,
it's a struggle.
Ohio used to not allow. They tried to keep everything out, and that's almost all gone now because the second you sue the state governing body, they don't really have the funding to fight multiple lawsuits.
100%.
And God forbid you lose one, by the way.
Yeah.
You lose one,
then you're done.
Forget
one
it.
loss, David, you might be gone,
down.
right? Like one loss, you might be out for good.
Yeah, that might be the end of that might be the end of the governing body.
Well, it's funny because we met with the coach association, like our association, and I just said it's got to come from coaches too. You know what I mean? Like just have respect for one another. And I'm not saying kids aren't going to transfer, and I'm not going to say whatever happens, but like I have people to get in my DMs, and I'm just like, when you register for Collingswood, then I'll worry about you being on my football team. You know what I mean? But coaches now, they have so many henchmen out there, and it's just relentless stuff where as a head coach, you got to respect other head coaches. They're doing the same kind of grind as you. You know what I mean? Look, I always say all the time, it's not, just because you win a state championship doesn't mean you're the best head coach in the world. You know what I mean? I've seen some great coaches that were on 2-9 teams. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Anyone that coaches Group 1 football, God bless them, man. You know what I mean? Like those guys, you know what I mean? Like they got 25 kids trying to do the same thing that these programs have 150. You know what I mean? I was with Shatsman the other day, Washington Township, who's one of my good friends. The guy's got, we got 155 helmets out. I'm like, what? Like 155 helmets out? Like, you know what I mean? So, which is great because he's keeping his kids. But like my thing is like,
Washington Township's like Rumson. Washington Township's like Rumson. You know what I mean? It's similar.
You show up to a Rumson JV game and there's 70 guys. Like they're 20-20.
Like, but I'm saying, like, as a head coach, it's our job as a head coach to respect other head coaches.
Right.
And I just don't think 100%. A lot of guys don't do that. They'd rather sleep with the devil and win, which is okay. That's you.
That you guys want to do it that way. That's good. Right. But I think and that was one of the things too that also just I love about coaching is it's the brotherhood, it's the fraternity, the respect for other coaches and look, none of us are geniuses, right? So we all steal from each other, right? You know what I mean? It's just that tight-knit group of nobody really knows what coaches go through unless you're another coach. And so now you see a lot. 100%. When you see these guys that it's like, hey, they'll shake your hand, they'll have that full conversation to and then you know that they're sliding into your kid's DM saying, man, you could do a lot better here, or this coach should use you here, or do it this way or do it that way. Like that's where
problem.
it really starts to, right. It's all for what? So you can win right now.
And a lot of those kids don't even play for that team. A lot of those kids don't even go on the field. They're backups to the backup, or you know what I mean? Like I can name a list. We actually keep track of it, me and a couple of coaches I'm really close with, and we just laugh. Like we like, you know what I mean? Like we keep track of where these kids go. And then what they Fridays, where they at? Like, you know, I don't see them on the film anywhere. I lost a kid to a state championship team who the school is literally 35 miles away. He hasn't played a snap for him in 3 years. But he would probably play for me. Like, why? What do you do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. All these parents want to glorify, oh, my kid's on a state championship team. Well, where's his film at? You know what I mean? Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like it's a lot of delusional parents and a lot of parents that think they're doing what's best for their kids. You know what I mean? But there's also got to remember on high school football, it's a little different. You know what I mean? So like every coach can recruit for your position. You know, like I have a conversation with a coach, like, hey, coach, you know what I mean? Like, this kid that you're going after, and this just happened a couple years ago at a 7-on-7, he can't play for you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why are you going after this kid who's going to be the third person in your rotation at this spot? And he's like, oh, coach, I'm not really going after him. Like, come on, man, stop. You know what I mean? Like, he'll play for me, but he ain't playing for you. So, like, what do you, like, you know what I mean? Like, and the kid transferred there and didn't play for him. Dad tried to call me. Hey, I'm like, well, if you come back now, you got to sit. Like, you know what I mean? So the best to believe,
these are the rules.
Stay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, stay. I don't want you here. Like, stay. And he got all mad at me, and he came to like one of my games. I'm like, no, like, you left, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we moved on. So good luck. You know what I mean? So
it's a difficult world.
Well, the changes of like part of it is. And there's still some of this actually in North Jersey. I don't know if this exists over where you are. With like it doesn't exist down where we are. And me and Derek were just talking about this yesterday. Like when we were young, I played in the thing. I went to a Group 1 school, so did Derek.
Yeah.
And you know, I played Division 1 football at UConn, and Derek went to, you know, originally to Sacred Heart, which is SCS, and we both played at really small schools. But what was interesting, we played in these independent youth leagues. And back then, even Derek's maybe 13. I'm 51. So Derek's like 12 years younger than me, I guess.
39, yeah.
Yeah, 39. So even when he was there, it was still the case. Those independent leagues, you had so if you were in, I don't remember if it was by age or by grade, but if let's say you were in 4th and 5th grade, those guys played together. Okay, let's say 4th and 5th grade. So 4th, 5th grade played together. Okay, and when you were a 4th grader, you kind of got beat up a little bit.
Yep.
And then when you were, remember we were talking about this yesterday. And when you were a 5th grader, you were kind of now the man, right? And then you went back at this again when you're 6th and 7th grade. And I don't know if I'm getting the ages right, but you get the point. And in those youth leagues, they were also like town by town, which is a lot harder to do now, but they were town by town, and everybody really had an opportunity to play. And sometimes you got beat up, sometimes you were on the back, but you kind of you learn to adapt when you were not quite as good because you were smaller, right? You're when you're the year younger as a youth player, there's no doubt you're going to be a little bit smaller, even if you're the most talented, a really talented player. There's still going to be a kid older than you that's going to be a little better. Now everything is age, one age at a time for the most part. So 9, and you're probably seeing your son, right?
My
9,
son,
10, then 11, then 12. And what happens is the same kids can, when they're younger, over and over again, be the guy.
Right.
Okay? And there's less learning curve to adapting anything. And you kind of roll out your same roster almost every year with very few changes because of the fact that you kind of know the same age group and you follow that same age group.
Correct.
Where there was less adaptation. So as a parent, some of these parents, they're just used to their kid being a guy. And all of a sudden now they're dropped into high school as a freshman. And they've been the best player. Maybe the kid matured earlier. And now all of a sudden he's struggling and nobody knows how to handle it. Nobody knows how to handle struggling because they haven't like taught it. Even if you weren't learning it on the field, meaning you were the best guy, you've got to teach it in other ways. Your kid might be the best player, and that might be something that's you're going to have to teach it in other ways if he is a really good athlete. You have to figure out a way to teach it, because what happens is at some point, those kids are going to meet kids that are as good as them, okay? Or maybe work harder than them or are older than them, and they don't know how to react. And then the person they turn around and blame a lot of times is the coach doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to use my kid. He was a running back in 6th grade, and now, he hasn't grown an inch, but the coach is sticking me out at a cornerback because I'm not big enough to play running back. Whatever it is, why aren't they having him at running back? And these are the things that I think parents has to learn to do it. And part of the overall issue is because you're starting to get into it a little bit because you have a son. I'm in it, and Derek could tell you I'm in it. Like I'll put him in things.
Oh, he's in it. He's in it, coach.
So part of it is, and I talk to all the parents all the time because I'll be at like a baseball training thing where my kid is, and I'll see a parent I know, and most of them know that I played at a higher level and coached. And they'll ask me, and I'm like, listen, the key thing is don't get caught in the fact that because you're paying for your kid to do this and that and this to get better, that there's automatically going to be a result from it. Like, yes, obviously he's going to get better. There's no doubt. If you're putting him in training and you're putting him in, he's going to get better. Or if you're working with him, he's going to get better. But don't let the leap of expectation go to scholarship just because he's getting better. And that's the leap they all make. They all make that leap, right? And they turn around and they look like, if you were to look at me and I'm a pretty big guy, but I'm 6'1", 6'2", I'm like 275, 280, If you were looking at me and you're standing next to me and you're a dad at 6'1", you're like a normal guy. He went and got a scholarship. Derek's 5'9", if they're standing talking to him, Derek played at FCS, normal looking guy, right? They get it confused and they make that leap. And the key is, to me, hey, listen, if you're paying, don't expect an ROI on your child. That's a mistake.
I totally agree. It's
don't
funny.
expect an ROI on your child.
Right.
Make that investment, okay, as literally what we call in business a sunk cost. You're sinking it into them so he can get better and play the sport well, okay? And you know what? If he goes on and becomes a star, awesome. Right. He becomes a kid that can go play in college. Awesome. Congratulations. The kid did the work. He did the work. You provided the avenue. He was, or she was willing to do the work. They did it. Awesome. Even then, you're not going to go, all right. I told my wife this. I said, I already spent the ROI on my kid in sports by the time he was already 8 years old. Okay. Right. So I already spent that ROI. There's no ROI on it. Okay. There's no ROI. Let him get better, be the best. As long as he wants to keep being good and getting better, great. I'm glad to do it. I have this conversation all the time. I'm bringing you here. Oh, you're a little resistant of doing it. Are you resistant because you're in the middle of a video game and you're having a great time talking to your friends? Or is it you really don't want to do it? Like I kind of always go back and forth. And then once I get his head out of the video game, because all these kids play video games, and then we bring him over and I said, well, how? Oh no, I'm glad I went. Right. So sometimes you do have to push him because of the video games. I don't mean push them to play a sport that they don't want to play. Sometimes you got to push them out the door because the kids don't just go outside anymore. They just don't do it.
Nope.
So I do think you got to push them out the door. But you want to have that contract with them and ask them, hey, when you went and took swings in the batting cage with the batting coach, did you enjoy that time? Or watch them. Are they enjoying it? Like I watched my son yesterday. He was resistant because he's playing games with his kids. I'm like, let's get out of the house. Come on, let's go do some swings with this guy. And we went and did it. And I'm watching. He's with the 4 other kids. They had they gamified it where they would see where the ball went, like from the cage. You know what I mean? Like they have this whole, baseball's got all this unbelievable technology, and it's unbelievable to have. And so they're all sitting around, and dude, he had a great time. And so I think that's to me the part that's Yes, that's good. That's the ROI, man. He's getting better. He's having a good time. He plays better in sport. And yeah, I do have the conversation. Like, is it more fun when you go out there and you work hard, even though it might be hard, and you play well? I'm not talking play, you're able to play your best. You're able to give your best because you did the things necessary. And almost always the answer is yes. It's not, did you score 50 touchdowns or did you hit a home run? Working hard gives you the ability to play your best. And if you go out and you can play your best, you damn right you feel good, I think. I mean, I would think you'd ask 99% of the kids would say they feel good if they felt like they played their best because they got themselves better to do that, And I think parents are losing that part of it because all the other parents are putting pressure on them. And they get caught in this and they don't know enough. Like you coached, Derek coached, I'm lucky enough to be coached. And they get caught on this guy does this and I got to do this because this guy does that. Let them enjoy their journey. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's ability is different. Okay. Yes, there's daddy ball at youth. Okay. Just get over it.
You have to have
Get over it. I said, get over it. Move
to the 70s.
That's what,
right.
You can move to a different team when you go to, but you still got to teach the lessons because when you go to high school, they're going to have a coach that is not their dad 99% of the time. Okay. Yeah. And that person doesn't go home with them, and they're just trying to help the team be the best they can be. That's it.
Yeah. It's totally brilliant. We dealt with it a little bit in our youth program. When my son was at, and my one guy who does coach at Audubon, his son's my son and him are best friends, and I'm good friends with him. And he was like, "Why are you helping out?" I'm just like, because I want to be full tilt. I'm gonna, and I don't, I don't want to push my son away from it. You know what I mean? Because he's starting to like it. You know what I mean? He's not really into the sports, which I wish. Obviously, I'm me and my wife are crazy sports fans. So somebody always asks where the hell this kid came from. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? I want him to enjoy it. You know what I mean? And then fall in love with it and all that kind of stuff. And I don't I can just picture myself being hard on him, and then him just crumbling and I just don't want to do this anymore. You know what I mean? So to me, you said the best thing, the ROI. People just think that if I spend X amount of money, that my kid is going to get a Division I scholarship, or my kid's going to automatically start. I have a kid on my team now. It's no lie. He's this is my going to my senior year. You sent me he sent me a text message that I'm ruining his senior year because he's not starting. I'm like, dude, you got to earn your because you spent money for training doesn't mean you were going to start. Doesn't
mean it makes you good either, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't mean it translates directly to
I don't understand.
So many other things it's just such a different mindset.
It doesn't make you good.
Yeah, it's it. I just don't you didn't.
Anybody can go through a ladder. So... You pay $150 for an hour for some guy to tell you to run through a ladder. Buddy, that's great. I'm sure you get through that ladder real killing.
Believe me, I have a couple friends that are trainers, and and I love people that do that kind of. But I think that's killing sports, man. I think that is what makes parents believe. And when you get these parents that believe in some deranged things, I'm going to go pay this trainer $250 to run me through a ladder and D-back drills. Why is my kid playing? And the guy's like, "Oh, and that coach sucks. He should go. Let's transfer." You know what I mean?
Right.
Let's try this.
That's
school.
The difference.
You know what I mean?
Let's
try this
part
school.
Of it.
Well, he's not playing there either. Well, let's try this school because what I'm doing is great. You know what I mean? It's, and then you have one success person and everybody thinks that one success person is going to be my kid. You know what I mean? Yep. But it's the rough part of high school. And I actually just saying just youth sports in general. You know what I mean? It's just the hardest part about it. You know what I mean? Where, and in football, it's such a grinding sport, you know what I mean? Where you guys know, it's not really fun. Man. Yeah, it's not really fun to practice. It's not really fun right now. Your friends are going down the beach and they're at pools, and your girlfriend wants you to go on vacation with her family. But
it's a grind.
You know what I mean? And these guys just think that you owe them something. I don't owe you. My first day I started my practice. I don't owe you guys anything. So that's my first day every day. I say practice. You're going to earn your things today. You know what I mean? So today you might be the first team out there in corner. And then tomorrow, if you didn't earn it, you ain't going to be the first team out there when we go corner again. So like I have no skin in this game besides me being an alumni. I don't have any. No, my son's not on this team. My nephew's not on this. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to play the best 11 guys. Like last year we played 4 freshmen, and parents were upright about it. Why are you playing freshmen? Well, they were the 4 best players and they played. Like you know what I mean? Like we're a small school here, man. Like the best 11 guys are going to play. You know what I mean? Whether you like it or not, and that's how it's going to be. So. And again, I don't know how you guys feel, but like not having freshman football does hurt. I think a lot of programs anymore.
Oh, that probably,
you know what I mean? Like our school got rid of freshman football, so like it's what I'm saying. So like if I was a freshman and came into a program and didn't have freshman football, and now
you're getting thrown right into that varsity, like first day of just like, hey, line up for stretch, you're already like pissing down your leg. That's very intimidating, especially in a sport where the physicality level of it could like that deters guys from playing. So that lower level kind of into it is a huge part of retention within your program, because look, you can only put 11 on the field, but you need those other guys to practice every day to get good. You can't do that with nothing. Yeah, man. Yep. Every guy freaking matters. Yep. I get so frustrated when you see assistant coaches out there, like, and they're like, oh, well, who's that? I'm like, dude, how do you not know who his name is? Like, we've been doing this for 6 months. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, dude. Like that. And those kids factor they plug all of it. Yeah, Coach, I give you a lot of credit because really, like that's, you got to interact with each kid each day.
Well, we had three kids. We went to RV camp. We had 3 freshman kids. Like RV was enormous. They're up front. Dude, they had some men, like grown men. And
Ranchos Valley, right?
Yeah, we had 3 freshman kids, and they got somehow, some way, these 3 freshman kids had an injury during a stretch. Right? They were like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, guys, sit down. It's like, whatever. They didn't come back yesterday. You know what I mean? And my point of the matter is like, I you know what I mean? Like the 2 of them are linemen. They're like, in their mind, like, I'm not going up against these dudes in like individual drills. Now, obviously, no coaches are going to throw a freshman again. You know what I mean? Like whatever. But their mind frame, you're right. So they text me, hey, coach, I'll be back next Monday. I wasn't feeling well yesterday. I'm like, I bet you weren't feeling well yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, I totally understand. But as a coach, I'm glad you say that, because my biggest pet peeve is when we do our coaches meeting and stuff. It's like, I can't stand when I hear the part, this kid can't do this. Like, what
that's bullshit.
Give me what he can do. Like, there's a lot of everyone on our team has something they can't do. You know what I mean? Like, our best player can't do some things too, but I don't hear you say anything about that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, give me what that kid can do, and you make sure that kid who's in your position group does it. Like, you know what I mean? And we built around what he can do. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I can't. It drives me absolutely bonkers. Like, we're watching the film, like, oh, I told you that kid can't do that. Well, why is he?
You're like, well, that's on you to find it right. Like, now you have signed off on saying he could do that. So are you not doing your job right?
Correct. Like it dropped.
These guys can't learn this system. Yeah, like these guys can't learn the system. They're this, they're that. No, man, bullshit. Make the system so that they can understand it. Find out what they do good. Put them in position to do really good at it. It's such a big pet peeve.
I think that
go ahead, Coach.
The trickle down part of years ago, the family had the bigger impact than society.
Yep.
On development. I'm just talking about overall development as a person. And now society, I would argue, maybe has almost as big as impact as the family, which stinks in my opinion. And the families, and if you do have a good, quote unquote nuclear family, you have to work really hard to keep that influence. And I think that that's a big part of it. And when you see, like, listen, my son loves the college football game. Okay. Loves it. And we have a great time. Listen, when he does dynasty mode, he's at 4 schools in 4 years. You know what I mean? Like, so how is it not going to be in their mindset because when they're playing a game that they all like,
they're surrounded by it,
they enjoy that gets embedded in their mind, and to think, oh, I'm the 3rd string in my video game, and you know what? Like, I'm at Nebraska, and maybe I should transfer to Michigan because I'm going to have a chance to play over there, or whatever it is. And I think that, like, I understand what's done in college, but the communication, like, I think the NFL, okay, and college football, which they don't care because they're all in their own business world on it. But NFL invests so much money into like flag football and developing flag football.
Girls, especially girls flag football too.
That's all
Oh,
great.
it's huge.
But they should invest as much time as they're invested in that. They should invest that amount of time in how important is family and developing your family. Like focus more on those type of things and stop shying away from the situations where there are kids that don't have family. We understand that. Teach people how to have a family, whatever their situation is. Okay. And I think that that's more and more. Now we're lucky we don't have those issues. Okay. But I think there's a lot of families throughout the United States that need more and more. And football, which is the most widely watched sport, both in college and in the pros, to me has a responsibility because they also have a responsibility for creating a culture that high school has to deal with now.
Yeah.
That high and youth, I guess, has to deal with where you got, hey, I'm in the transfer portal, and that's the most celebrated thing. Even though you're not going to be playing anywhere next year because
you're giving yourself an opportunity. With
no opportunities.
Yeah, but, we had an 8th grade kid. A quick story that said the same thing. I got tagged on Instagram last year by 3 players, and like they were 8th graders, and like what school should I choose to go to, right? So it's like Collingswood, and it's like Willingboro, and it's like all these different schools, St. John Vianney, all these different schools, right? So I messaged all 3 of the people. I'm like, you don't live in my town. You take my name off of I don't you know what I mean? Like you can't come here. Like it's like I'm in. You're like, you know what I mean? Like, are people really in 8th grade like that? Is that like this big thing? Like,
yes, it is.
I'm like, what am I?
Yes,
like, this is
it is
bonkers, man. Like you're writing that.
Yes.
I don't even know who you are. Number 1, I've never met you in my life. Number 2, and you live so far from my district. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and you have to live in my district to play. Like, so I'm saying to Coach Jakes up at the NJ Coach Association. I'm like, Coach Jakes, like what do we do? Like, you know what I mean? Like my AD's mad at me. Like I have nothing to do with this. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just
thinking you're like trying to entice these kids to come to you, and you're like, I can't control what some human thinks it is. Like, sorry.
Like these people live 2 of them live in like Central Jersey, past like Trenton, and I'm like, how are you getting it like Collingswood? Oh, I don't know, Coach, but I really want to play for your program. You never you don't even know my program.
You don't even know my program. Yeah,
dude. Like you just want to put an extra emblem on your where you're going to go to school at type of thing, which is, I think that's not, you know what I mean? For me, I don't know how you guys would, but like if my son did that, like not for nothing, I would take that thing down. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's, I think parenting comes in a big part of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Like group data are different.
Parents get caught up in it.
Yes. Like, you know what I mean?
Because remember, Coach, they're sitting in the stands, right? And Johnny's dad or Johnny's mom is talking about how like Johnny went to this camp and then he works with this trainer, and then, hey, you really set it up. You should start posting this stuff. And then all of a sudden now they do it. And then they do it, and it just spreads like wildfire. And it really is. We see it all the time. And, we just kind of try to tell our parents like, hey, this is what it is or whatever. But ultimately they're going to do whatever they want to do no matter what, regardless. Right. And it could be I've had now guys tell me, hey, I'm going to this school next year. It's like, buddy, we've not communicated. I haven't talked to any of these coaches, right? Like they overjump the head coach now, go directly to the kid or parent when it comes to recruiting at the next level. Like I'm sure you've seen that, Coach. Like there is a lot less foot traffic in the schools with coaches in the offseason recruiting wise, 100%, because they just skip it, right? It used to be, we talked about, Dave and I talk about it, you had to go through your head coach just to get in contact with that kid. Sure. Get transcripts to get all. Nope. Now they can go directly to them. Social media has done that. Like it's just so different.
Yeah. You know what else it is too, because now this is only for kids that are at the highest level, because not the kids that are Division III or Division II or even FCS that aren't game, but like at the highest level, they view the coach as an obstacle, because if I'm
Right.
gonna, if I have almost all of the group of, what is it called, the Big Four conferences, all of them are giving some money to the players for the most part, and that coach is in the way. So that's how it's viewed by a lot of the, now the head coach at those schools, I don't think views it that way in the corner. But I think when you're the recruiting guy, right, the recruiting guy, and you're trying to figure out, is this kid even going to be interested in my school if he's a high level kid, right? And then that starts to trickle down to the lower level kids, the lower level coaches, because all the coaches in college are trying to be where these guys are, right? So they're following a model. And I think we've interviewed a lot of guys that were guys that didn't play in college, that went right into coaching, because coaching is now a profession at the high school level. Obviously they're teachers for the most part, but at the college level, there's opportunities for financial compensation that you move up. So what's happened is those guys now are jumping into coaching. Really, some of them haven't really played. That used to kind of be the apprenticeship. Now they're jumping right into coaching. And who are they learning from? Guys who are fairly accomplished coaches already, and they're taking those methodologies, but they don't have as much a basis of experience. Now, I'll say it has zero. What I've learned is that I think it's important to be a player, to be able to be. I think it helps you be a good coach, but it's not a prerequisite anymore. So there are guys that are really good coaches that didn't play beyond high school at the college level. There's guys that are really, really successful. I mean, Jed Fish is a good example of that. Didn't even play. He was a tennis player, right? So there are guys like that. But because of that, the things we learned as players going up, kind of the things that were passed down, those are no longer passed down. So there's no passed down protocol of how you approach recruiting or how you go. That's not passed down anymore. Now is what to me is passed down is whatever helps you be successful.
Right.
That's it. No matter, like, there is no. Now, I'm not saying that guys don't have their own moral code, that there aren't head coaches that have, a moral code of how we handle things. I'm sure there are, or standards of how they handle things. But for the most part, at the end of the day, it's how do we become successful? And it's funny because in high school, that's, again, part of the process. It's not the whole thing. It's the experience as well. And when it's trickled down that it's only about being successful, it becomes very hard for the high school coach, in my opinion. Now, listen, when you're in a place, like I said before, Rumson, Washington Township, but where you have a certain level of success, you have great support, you're going to have a little bit more advantages. But in the average everyday coaching experience, it is a battle. And that's why you've seen more turnover of head coaches. You're one of the few guys that have been around for a very long time.
Well, like I said, if I was an alumni, I would be. I wouldn't. If I wasn't invested so much, I don't know how these guys that aren't alumni of their school stay so long. Like I don't understand it. I mean, it's just so much pressure, and like you're never right anymore as a head coach. You know what I'm saying? Like it's you know what I mean? You got admin, you got superintendents, you got parents, you have kids. Like you know what I mean? Back in when we played, I said this to a kid yesterday at RV. I said, you've asked me so many questions, and I say questions are great as a teacher, absolutely. But you've asked me 10 straight questions that are so meaningless that I never asked my coach a single question. I don't even think I remember that wasn't football related. You know what I mean? Hey, coach, when was lunch? Hey, coach, when are we getting back on the bus? Hey, I'm just like, you're trying to control what you can control. But like nowadays, I feel like as a head coach in high school level, you're never right. Like you're never right. You know what I mean? No matter which way you go.
Even when you're wrong.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you're just never in the right. Never handle a situation right anymore. It's almost impossible to be the right person handling a situation because you know what I mean. If your AD believes you, the parent still thinks that they were right. You know what I mean? If your AD doesn't believe you, now you know what I mean. You're in trouble with with the AD. So it makes it so much hard. And I say all this more than anything, and I've talked to a lot of Division I coaches. You know what I mean? I was actually with my guy, Coach Manlow, who coached me when I was at LaSalle. He's still at Del Valle helping out. The guy's 93 years old, but he said coaching high school sports when he did it was 1,000 times harder getting than college, coaching a college sport, because you're getting those kids that want to be there. You know what I mean? Who want to be coached up and learn. Instead, like where we're at. You know what I mean? You said before, you're getting kids that just want to get a jacket, just want to eat, just, you know what I mean? Yep. And you got to try to implement them into a team and feel part of the team and, and then deal with, grades and, recruiting and all this stuff. Now, to me, recruiting's a lot easier nowadays, I feel like, because as our association does, we have a spreadsheet and we give it out to every school. You know what I mean? So, like, if some recruiter comes into Seneca, they'll get my columns with kids as well. You know what I mean? So, and Huddle. I mean, if I had Huddle back in the day, we'd love it. The Huddle now, I give all Division I, all coaches access to my Huddle. Like, I give them free access. So, like, they can check out. I tell my kids all the time, they check out your Huddle without even me knowing it. You know what I mean? Like your point is, like, they can bypass me. They don't really need me. You know what I mean? To go into getting a recruiting in those kind of stages. But I also, like, a big problem I look at from high school, coaching too, is like, everyone thinks you got to be at a certain school to get recruited. You know what I mean? To go division, like, you know what I mean? And then you have those schools. Then you have those schools that say, "Oh, that's true," because you know what I mean. Anybody that says that they'll find you anywhere isn't true. Well, that's not true. They'll find you anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, I coached against Flacco, Super Bowl champ. I was he didn't win a game his senior year in football, and now he's a Super Bowl quarterback. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, champion. You know what I mean? So like,
what is it? Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it does it. Like, I mean, is it once in a while? You know what I mean? A diamond rough, of course. But like, I don't have to go play at Millville or a Winslow to get a Division I. There's Division I players other places as well. But kids nowadays are so focused on that. You know what I mean? Like, my two young kids that are on my team, like, oh, you know what I mean? Well, we have to go play Glassboro probably. No, what do you mean to go get looked? That's not true. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we just had Westchester here try to offer a kid. It's not my fault that your grades ain't good enough to get in there. You know what I mean? It's not my fault that you've been late to school 27 times. What coach is going to want that? I mean, that's not, you know what I mean? That's on you. You know what I mean? But, it's I find it more difficult to become, as obviously as a head coach, there's so many more hats that you wear at the high school level. And, the last thing I would say is it's a dying industry, right? I don't know if you guys agree, but high school coaching is dying. Like, what are we going to do when we lose some of these guys that are, that are old school? Like, none of these young coaches want to wear all these hats. They want to coach on Friday night. You know what I mean? Like,
they want to be able to. They want to jump in and say, "Hey, I'm calling plays," right? Like, no, buddy. Like, you're coaching fresh. What do you mean I'm coaching fresh? What do you mean I'm not calling plays?
What do you mean? The pay's only this much? Like, that's how much you're paying me?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
You're like, dude, you're lucky you're even getting paid. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just it's really difficult.
You just look at it like a job.
They don't want to go to clinics. They don't want to do, you know what I mean? They don't want to go through it's hard.
Like the Clearview job. Clearview job was open this year, and my man Coach Wilson got it from from Shalleck, but there was only 6 applicants really for that position, and it was a gym teacher attached to it. You put that job up 15 years ago, there's 150 people applying for that job. But these young guys coming out, and I'm not saying they're not good coaches or not great coaches, but they don't understand the work you got to put in. Like, this is 7, you know what I mean? We all know. You know what I mean? Like, there is no days off, man. Even when you think you have a day off, you're going to get a text from a kid or something's going to happen, or, you know what I mean? Whatever. So, like, and then you get the pay, and you're like, wait, what? Like, what's this paycheck? I mean, I've been doing this for all year. Like, what do you mean?
Like, here's how ironic things are in coaching. I find high school coaching to be a lot of times a lot of irony. When I left Powell Park in 2014, and basically they brought me in for a meeting, a thing happened with a kid that had zero to do with me, but I was blamed for it. And I came into the meeting, and they were berating me. And I said to them, and I left, I said, you guys are going to do whatever you're going to do, regardless of what I say here. So figure out what you want to do, and then we'll move on from there. And I left the meeting. And in that moment, I said, I'm never going to let administrators just kind of like, just say what they want to say, manipulate a situation just to whatever narrative they have to put out to the public. Like, I'm going to stand what my ground is, and if they don't like it, that's okay. That was the first time I was like, that's okay. You know what? They don't want me there. You know, and I had done an unbelievable job there, and I'm not. Well, here's the irony of it all. Last year they inducted me into the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not funny.
Cracks you up.
So I got inducted to the Hall of Fame because they haven't won anywhere near as many games since then. And in the last 30 years, I think there's only one other guy that's won anywhere near that amount of games. So, but that was the irony. And when I'm there, a lot of those administrators were there celebrating me. And
Yeah.
I thought,
Cheers, coach.
I walked in, it was so ironic. And like, it's been a long time, so I'm happy to see people because I have great memories because we had a lot of success. But I thought to myself, I said, it's just so ironic, it's so ironic. And when I gave my speech, but I said what always mattered, and I told Derek this, what mattered to me was 5 of my players that played for me came to the Hall of Fame. I couldn't believe, I was shocked. Yeah. And they sat at my table with my family, and there were more that sent me messages, hey, I would have liked to have been there. I didn't put it out, what I'm saying, to them or anything like that. And so to me, that was really what mattered.
That's how you know you left a mark, and that's what high school coaching is about. Like people don't understand that,
and that's like what we do it for.
Yeah,
that's why we do it.
So, like I said, that people look at wins and losses so much. You can't look at wins and losses in high school sports. You just can't. It doesn't to determine whether it's a good coach or a bad coach. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure there's been bad coaches on state championship teams. I'm sure there's been the greatest coaches in the world that went 0-10. You know what I mean? Like it's just how it is. Like it's we all know it's about the Jimmies and the Joes, not so much about the X's and the O's. But parents don't understand that. Admin don't understand it.
Absolutely not.
Go to football games don't understand that. They're yelling at you. Yelling at what a bad play call you made, this and that, blah blah blah, all this kind of stuff. But they don't know what you dealt with Monday through Thursday. What kid you had to save from getting in trouble. What kid you had to discipline from getting in trouble. What kid you had to go buy lunch because he couldn't eat lunch. You know what I mean? Like there's so much that goes into it. And that's what I say to my staff. Like I make my staff after a game. You know what I mean? We go out. Like if you don't want to do it, like it doesn't mean I don't need you to go out and party. But like we put so much into it during the week as a staff. And so much, and we got to enjoy. We got to be together and enjoy. You know what I mean? Like win or loss, we got to go out and enjoy it and move on to the next because it's going to eat at us. You know what I mean? That's short the kids. You know what I mean? So like I don't want to go into the next day where I'm still talking about what happened. Friday night. So. I try to make my staff go out and get it over with. So when we meet Saturday morning with the kids, it's over. But so much goes into 1 week. You know what I mean? That people just don't understand. And like you said, try to get high school kids. Like my first coach I played for, who I was assistant under, Coach Brickian. Now he was a special ed teacher at Collinswood. He told me the greatest thing ever, man. And didn't hit home to me until like I became a coordinator and I started realizing it. But most of the kids that we're going to be coaching who has IEPs and special, you know what I mean? Like all those 504 plans, like Coach McKeown, it might take you 2 reps to understand it. It might take him 20,000 reps to understand it. Now we got a week, with kids with IEPs and 504s to learn both sides of the
understand
ball. Yeah. Both sides of the ball and special teams at small schools that we coach at. And I got parents yelling me in the stands and you know what I mean? Like, and they don't understand. Well, why did I play that work? Well, it didn't play work because number 12 didn't block the right person. And we only did 100 of those reps, not 1,000 of those reps because we don't have enough time in a day. You know what I mean? Whatever. So, it's small stuff like that like I look back at and I realize like, how hard it is, but like how gratifying it is, if it makes sense. You know what I mean? That like,
absolutely.
Us coaches find a way to put a product out there every single Friday or Saturday in a short period of time with kids that really, and nowadays there's so many distractions in kids, right? They can look at their phone back forth. You know what I mean? Like they're itching to get back to their phone while practice is going on. I bet you. Who Snapchatted me back? You know what I mean? Like there's so many little things, but like it's just a difficult thing. And like I said, like admin parent, they don't understand it. You know what I mean? And like it's something that realistically like bothers me, not to the point where like no, I'm not going to lose hours sleep over but it bothers me where like coaches like ourselves, and just high school coaches in general, don't get enough respect for like what we do. You know what I mean? Like what what we do, on off the field, like all that kind of stuff, man. Like you know what I mean? It's like someone said it best to me. Like one of my guys, sent me a thing like, the coach can change, kids' lives and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? For parents, I'm probably with your kid more than you are. You know what I mean? During football, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, it's they don't know. Like, I'm at the age now where I'm coaching my friends' kids. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm, out on Friday and Saturday night in the summertime or taking a vacation with some of my players and their parents. But, like, I try to keep how they really are in school to just, you know what I mean? Like I say all the time, like I save so many of my kids about what they really are doing in school. You know what I mean? Compare that. And like parents don't get that. They don't understand that. You know what I mean? Like just don't understand, what really goes into running a program, man. It's very
day to
difficult.
day. They don't know the day to day. They don't know the day to day and how much this is a 365, 7-day a week type gig. It's why I think you saw a lot of guys COVID where we were shut down and they really got to take a step back from like the rat race that they were in. You start to see them really try to readjust some things like, man, like, should I really be doing this? Or this is a lot of time. It was really nice to be like with my family in the spring and not running around or doing this or doing that. Like, I think you saw a lot of that transition to, hey, maybe we could do things a better way. And we talk to guys all the time about, efficiency when it comes to running a program and all that. Like, but just the day-to-day operations of a football coach. And look, you wear a lot of hats, coach, being the girls basketball coach. But if you compare both of those roles, not even close, right? Like not even close.
People ask me, like, how'd you do it? I'm like, listen, my girls, it's peaceful. Like I can tell my girls we have practice at, and they're going to show up on time. I don't got to pick them up. They're going to show up on time. They're going to practice hard. You know what I mean? And they're going to absorb like a sponge and try to run through a wall for me. Football, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. If I could tell you, if I just told my team, hey, we have practice at 4:00, I would tell you probably 70% of my kids would show up on time without me, messaging, texting, grouping, remind, whatever I got to do to make sure, hey, man, you're on your way.
1,000 apps to do it. Yeah.
Like Coach Truman, you were probably coaching a time where we couldn't do anything in the summers, right? I mean, I would just start.
When I first started was just when it was like, I think my first year head coach was 2004. I think that was like one of the first years where we were able to like do stuff. Cause I remember
2002 was my first year.
It was like 2 days a week though, maybe 3. It wasn't a lot at the time. I think we did mostly 7-on-7 to be honest.
So like, that's what's funny. Like we went from, I started coaching in 2002 as just an assistant, but we had summers. That
was my first year as an assistant too.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Till like 2000, till August 25th. You know what I mean? 24.
Yeah.
Couldn't have any contact with your kids on a field.
I remember we lifted
until August. You could lift.
Yeah.
You could go to the gym, but you couldn't you couldn't get on the field unless it was like a sanctioned 7-on-7. That's how it was. That was the rule. So you had captain's practice for that month on your own, right? Like get out there, do your thing, right? Mainly guys just went and just showed up and, whatever. And then August 1st, okay, here we go. Now it's football practice, which is why you had 2-a-days, 3-a-days and all that stuff because you had to cram so much into that tiny window. Whereas now, like you Coach, you just came from a camp where everybody's in, you were full gear, full go. Like, here you go. Like it was, and you had and how many teams were there? You know what I mean? And it was like, hey, dude. Yeah, Dave, before you got on, Coach and I were talking, he shared with us that they went to, they did a camp that we used to run up in Montville. I was saying how we used to go up there. So they did one, bunch of teams, 7 hours a day, great work. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like awesome, right? Like here we go. Like it's just so different. It
cracks me up. Like real fast on it. Just what cracks me up about it is like, so now they went to, gradually, the NJSI didn't care. You can go. Like, we used to scrimmage Bishop Eustace in the summertime, but now where we're at, it's just full tilt football. But you also have all these other sports that kids like. I need my multiple sport athletes to play for me, or I don't have a football program.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so now we have these kids playing AAU baseball, AAU basketball, wrestling. How the hell do you have you know what I mean? Like, and that's where I side with my parents. Like, where do these kids breathe? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so
Where do they have summer?
Yes. Like, it's so much. And like, as me, my first couple years as head coach, I would get so mad. Like my school did a good thing. We went from the last week in July to the first week in August. We go to a blackout period where they expect kids to take their vacations. And then guess what? After 3 or 4 years, parents are starting to do that. So it's kind of worked out for us. But even then, my best friend is the wrestling coach at Collingswood. You know what I mean? Like me and him are best friends. He needs my kids. I need his kids. You know what I mean? So like, how can we make this work? And you know what I mean? To be able to function. And like, to me, it's just too much. And I love football, man. Like I could talk football. I could be here all day with you guys. But like, you know what I mean? Like it's just too much for these kids, man. It's too much.
Well, the summer, that's right. The summer thing, because they can play all those sports like basketball summer league. Like I remember I used to have to compete a lot with basketball summer league and baseball. And that's why I used to have my workouts in the morning. But it was like but I would sometimes, obviously, if a kid played basketball the night before and you have your practice in the morning, you know, they're showing up, they're shot. Like I would be like, all right, I know you're shot, dude. Like, you know, just
shorts on and
give me what you can, you know, like, so, but that is hard. And one of the other things that I think it's never going to happen in at least in New Jersey, I don't know how it is in other places, but it's never going to happen. But there really should be, and the reason why I say it's never going to happen, because there's never going to be an oversight where they're going to be able to enforce anything like
hours.
This. Well, yeah, there even if it isn't hours, but like okay, this kid exerted 2 hours in AU basketball. It's got to be reported. Okay, so tomorrow, if he's coming to football, that's fine. Yeah. But like you could give him 30 minutes or 45 minutes. Okay, and what are those? This is what the 45 minutes can entail, right? You know, so I mean, it's never going to happen. So I'm saying this as I don't even ever expect it. I don't think it'll ever happen. And there'll be a million reasons why you can't, but there has to be a working modification as much as you can.
Totally agree.
But the problem is, like, if I'm the basketball coach, I'm trying to get my work.
You got to get on the same page. I want this work. Yeah, right. Like everybody's going to start to be like, hey, well, he needs more here, or hey, he could be this if he just gave it a little bit more. It's like, look, when you get rarely do we see old school 3-sport athletes, right? Like that is so rare because it's just, it is so much. And
small school, you do. I think you do in small school.
Each coach keeps pulling, like, hey, he's a basketball guy, he's the baseball guy, he's this guy. And now you lose those guys. And now overall teams drop because that guy's not playing that sport where he is the sixth man in basketball, or he needs to play that role on that team for them to be good. It's really difficult. But you're right, Dave, like, especially small school guys, you still see 3-sport athlete guys that have to do it and get it done. I just, like you said, Coach, I don't know where they ever find the time to be a kid. Like
my advice to kids is
doing it.
There's nowhere near as much scholarship offer opportunities anymore. Okay. No. Yes, quote unquote theory, the numbers are theoretically still the same, but it's, as the financials go to football and basketball, and maybe the one big, like, I don't know, LSU's good at baseball. Maybe as those things start to go away, and there's not as many scholarships, kids should just play as many sports as they can in high school and enjoy it, because yes, it's going to go back to when it was rare to get that opportunity to be able to play. There was a boom in scholarship opportunities. A lot of it has to do with Title IX for women, and a lot of it had to do with the boom in football and financial in the 90s through the probably 2000, right before COVID, that 2020. Once the transfer portal and NIL comes in, as sports are going to start to get diminished at the higher level, which means that they may start to get diminished at some of the lower levels, and you may not have as many opportunities. That's how it was in the 70s, 80s, and 60s. Now, I'm not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent. What I'm saying is
that's how it was.
Play a lot of sports because they didn't think of it as an opportunity to go to college. Now everyone thinks of it as, and I think that it's important for people that, like, dude, I mean, listen.
Yeah, I'm a big multiple sport athlete guy. So
if I could play 8 sports at a time, this is me, because I love sports.
I don't let my kids play.
I'd played 8 sports at the same time.
Yeah, I would have one of my players. I tell my players, not if you want to play football for me, you're playing another sport. So there's not one player on my team that doesn't play another sport. I tell them, I don't care. If you don't play another sport, you're not going to play for me. I just believe in, you know what I mean? You get coached by other people, you use all their muscles. It's just, you know what I mean? It's for the school. It's better for the programs. Everybody are helping each other out. But I totally agree with you. And I know I've been big in the state by saying that, like, the summer problem, it's not just New Jersey, but look at the numbers of high school football players, how drastically it's diminishing in like Alabama, like places like that. Like our numbers are we're losing kids. So I don't care what you say. Listen, let's be honest here. We're not losing like the demographic of kids of like inner city kids. They'll play. They love it. You know what I mean? But we're losing, you know what I mean, the working class kids because their parents still want to go on vacation. You know what I mean? Like their parents aren't willing to devote this much time into what we think. So, you know, we say to the West Jersey all the time, you know, we have programs that are close to being folded. You know what I mean? Like we had forfeits this year. You know, we had teams that forfeited games for the first time since the West Jersey League formed. It's only going to get worse if we keep, you know, not doing the right things. You know what I mean? So, like, you know, you could see the numbers that are just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And like we said, and it sounds crazy. It doesn't really affect me much, but like if we don't have a transfer legit rule that helps, you know what I mean? Like, let's say you're my Haddon Township or myself, who, you know what I mean? Whatever. You lose 3 or 4 good football players, you don't have a team.
No.
You know what I mean? Like your team's done. You know what I mean? So like at the end of the day, once you fold that team, you're never getting it back. You know how it is. Once you lose something, you don't get it back.
You don't get it back.
Yeah. So like that's my fear. And I said it, you know, within the next 10 years, you're going to see so many less high school football programs in New Jersey. Maybe that's the state wants. But maybe the state wants less teams, less I don't know. But
you know what
the direction we're going.
You know what Iowa does, which I think is kind of cool, but I don't know what people would think about it. But Iowa, which has, I think, in for an area that should not turn out a ton of athletes, they have a lot of good athletes that come out of there. And one of the things they do is they take baseball and they put it in this as a summer. They have a 4th season. So they have the fall, the winter, the spring, and then early summer. So baseball's played in now. It's probably because it's cold and they can't get. They probably did it because you probably couldn't
even get on the field.
Games on the field. But it doesn't start to like the end of like track ends, I guess, in late May and lacrosse or whatever. And then you have the opportunity to play baseball, softball in like June, right? And then that's their season. I realized I knew it because Cooper DeJean did 4 sports in high school. I was like, how did Cooper DeJean?
You're like, how does he do 4 sports? Yeah,
that's how he did it. So they have a 4th season. And what I thought was cool about it is I don't know that it was done on purpose, by the way. Okay. It may be because of weather, but it kind of indirectly
it's probably logistics
is multiple sport playing because now you're giving another season of opportunities. So instead of like, you could legitimately be a 2-sport athlete because you could be like a football, baseball player. And if you wanted to train, you could be a football track guy. You could be a football lacrosse guy. You could be a football wrestler.
Opportunities. Yeah.
You could still play a second sport. You know, not everybody's going to be like Cooper Jean. He's a great athlete, plays 4 sports. But you can get another sport in there and not feel like you're sacrificing something. And I just, I'm crazy. So I said to my wife, we should move to Iowa because that would be fun. if that was me, that's what if obviously my son probably wouldn't want to do that, but that's where I would move because I would want to play 4 seasons. But, I think there are solutions. I don't know that it ever is going to get done because the administrative bureaucracy is so difficult to overcome.
Correct.
Jersey's obviously a place that has, but all states have some level of that. And it's hard to do that. You would have to, a small state like Iowa, which is a much smaller population state, can kind of make a unilateral decision, say, you know what, we need more kids playing.
Correct.
We're losing baseball because baseball is getting screwed by lacrosse and let's say track, right? So 3 in 1 season is not good. Move baseball. So now everybody has their opportunity to play their sports, right? In the South, some places like I think Tennessee, soccer's in the spring. Okay. Which there's a lot of football players that play. I don't know what the rationale is behind that, but there are solutions. Smaller states probably have a better opportunity to make those solutions than, a state with larger population. It's probably harder, but there are solutions that I think in the long run have to get looked at, because I think in the end we're going to get back to like play sports and have it, because eventually the next two generations, so maybe not this generation, but the generation following it, these kids, they're going to be like, hey, my parents spent $50,000 on me in my athletic career, and I didn't even play in college.
Yeah,
I'm willing to spend on you, but it's because we want you to have a great time and have the best experience you can, not necessarily. And I think it may take a couple of generations of that happening, because the boom in scholarships was the 90s all the way up till COVID, and it's going to take kind of a couple of generations for that to be like, hey, maybe there's a balance to this. Not everybody's going to get a scholarship for something, you know. And I think that's because it was that way academically too, by the way. In the academic side, you're kind of seeing that also. We all want to go to Harvard and Yale. Like everybody wants to go to Harvard and Yale. And like now we're seeing educationally, it's like, hey, find the educational opportunity that gives you the most bang for your buck. Don't just spend at a private school and now you got a job for $80,000 with no ROI, right? There's no ROI on that. So I think you're seeing that now educationally, because there was a time when everyone's like, my kid has to go to the private school, the very best educational school. And all these kids are now coming out and saying, hey, man, I can't get a job that pays for that. So now their kids are going to be looking at more economical opportunities unless their kid truly is that exceptional person. And they'll recognize, and I think that's part of the ebb and flow. Now we're older, so we may not get to enjoy all of that part of it, but I think that part is it's kind of like how it all works. And I think I see it from my kids' group, like they want to have fun. I see it, like they want to have fun. Yeah, they'll do the training, they'll do it, but they want to go out and have fun. The best part of football practice is after football practice.
Yeah, to run around throwing the ball. Yep. Oh yeah. That's they didn't have that. My son wouldn't be there.
I said if you just gave them the ball and said practice on your own, not that they would be they're not going to win as many games, but you might have them out there for 5 hours.
Yeah. They won't come. They will never. My son will never get into my car.
That's right. Just you could say to them, hey, you guys figure it out. Here's all the bags. You guys do the drills you want to do. And if you need our help, you let us know. We'll be sitting over here drinking a beer, and then we'll go and then we'll come over and help you guys. But you guys run the practice. They'll be out there all day long. All day long.
Totally agree. It makes it fun though.
No, it is, and that's why. Like, I actually feel bad because moms are big on this, but the dads that I'm around, we always feel bad about it. The moms are always like, you got to get home and eat dinner because football practice goes late, right? But you see them playing, and you're like, wow, like this is really what they want to do.
Yeah,
this is really what they like to do. And you try to tell mom, hey, listen, like let me just give them 10 more minutes because like we did all this for an hour and a half, and they really want to do this, So, and listen, I see like my 10-year-olds, they have older brothers or whatever. They'll go over. They say, can I go over to my brother's practice and run sprints with them? Yeah, go. Dude, that's what it should be. Go run sprints with your brother's team. If the coach will let you do it, go run. Most of them do, they don't care. They don't care. Yeah, you go over, go run sprints with your brother's team, and that's part of it. Can I go kick field goals after? Sure, go kick field goals.
Sure.
You watch 50 of them never get over the
goalpost.
But how do you get it over the goalpost? That's how you get it over the goalpost. You keep doing it every day for the next 10 years, you'll get it over the goalpost. But anyway, Coach, I could talk to you all day.
Trust me, I love it. I love it.
I want you to be able to go figure out whatever else you want to do with the day instead of staying out with us.
We don't have weight room till 3:30 today, Coach. So.
I have one last.
Appreciate you, man. Really. Go ahead, Coach.
I did want to ask you because you're involved with the Battle of the Beach, right? I don't know if you talked about this, Derek, at all. It's so impressive what you guys have done. Really, really impressive. It's amazing. what I am curious, like from when you guys started, where you just had a couple of teams to where it is now, like where it's like literally a national event.
Yep.
Like, what has that been like as far as that whole process over the years?
It's crazy because like when we started it, I actually like when I actually got it going. I was just like I've always, I mean, from down in South Jersey, we've gone to the Wildwood Boardwalk and Ocean City Boardwalk all the time. And I was a kid, I always wanted to play football on Ocean City's field. Like, it's iconic. But when I tell people now, and they call me up to try to get in, I'm like, it's 10 feet from the beach. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, it's on the board. You know what I mean? It's on the beach. So like so when I became a head coach, like my goal was to try to give my kids live in a bubble of my town. You know what I mean? Like, like they just live in Collingswood. Like their goal was to be the best person in Collingswood instead of being the best person, in Camden County and South. They just look at it like that. So when I became a head coach, like I wanted to play some teams from like out of state, like give my program just something different. We always play the same teams and so on and so forth. So like when a week 0 came, one of my good friends who's a Gloucester wrestling coach, he was my defensive back coach, Coach McConnell, and he had we played Little League football a long time ago, 35 years ago. Rich Berger, he lived out in California. He coached at Northgate High School. You know what I mean? So like they reached out to me and they were like, hey, why don't we come play you one year and you guys come out and play us in California the following year? So I looked into it. I'm like, school's a little bit bigger than us, but I'm like, you know what, man, let's do it. So I talked to my school board, my AD, and they were all into it. So I put $1,000 deposit down at Ocean City to use their field. COVID hits. They can't come. They're not allowed to leave their state and play. Obviously, everything shuts down and yada, yada, yada. So when everything got its clearance, I already had $1,000 deposit, and Ocean City wouldn't give it back to me. Like, it was just like, you got to use it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it was just so weird. So like Northgate wasn't allowed to leave. We just formed the Coaches Association to try to get some, I wouldn't say power, you know what I mean, into the state. You know what I mean? Let's be honest. North Jersey never looked at South Jersey as like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I've been around long enough where North Jersey thinks that South Jersey is just like our, the stepsister, you know what I mean, of whatnot. So, it is what it is. So like my thing was like, this has never been done before. So we formed a coach association, and I'm like to the president and John Emmel, like, hey, like, why don't we have can we do like a 1 day, like 4 or 5 games here, like showcase and try to get South Jersey on the map? You know what I mean? Like, and I really wanted it just to be North Jersey versus South Jersey. That was like my goal. Was like our goal when we first started, like to get North Jersey teams to come down here and play South Jersey teams and see how it would go. So he's like, yeah, it's a good idea. Like, let's see what's going on. And as soon as we like got it going, like it took off. Like I literally had, hundreds of teams that wanted to be in this thing. And you know what I mean? Like I put it on like the PA site and it was like 2 teams. Like it just erupted pretty quickly. So I was just like, wow, all right, we got 120 teams that want to do this. Can we go 3 days, 2 days to 3 days? So we got it to 3 days of 12, you know what I mean? So 12 teams. And when I tell you, we never expected to sell as many tickets and see the event go to what it went the first year. Like it was enormous, man. Like it just blew up, which is a good thing. You know what I mean? So, year 1 was like kind of our, like, you know what I mean? Get a feel for it. But then year 2 is when the event like became kind of like, we're like, you know what, we can get this thing, one of the premier events if we want to, just because of our location. And when people really saw that, Carrick Stadium's on the beach and there's a boardwalk and families can come spend the weekend and go on rides and like all that kind of stuff. So it has really exploded to like way more than like we expected it to, and way more than like we really kind of wanted to bite off, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like we just wanted it to be, raise some money, give it to charity. We give out $50,000. We give out $50,000 so far, just to scholarships to kids in the West Jersey Football League. We've given $160,000 to kids in to cancer associations. You know what I mean? So, I mean, the money itself it's raised, but it's just put Jersey, not just say like that's what people say to me all the time. Forget about Jersey, South Jersey football. It's put Jersey football kind of back where it is.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, and our main goal was just South Jersey. But I've made so many friends in North Jersey now, like, you know what I mean, off of this. And there's so many, I'm so glad that we had so many North Jersey schools involved, you know what I mean? And like, Bergen Catholics coming back for a second year, playing a team from, East St. Louis. You know what I mean? And every year I get 50 or 60 North Jersey schools that want in this thing. How can I do it? Wayne Valley last year, their coaches, I talked to them in North. They were such great guys, man. Well coached. I wouldn't get a chance to meet these kind of guys. You know what I mean? So it's just something that, we're really happy that it's put New Jersey on the map, man. You know what I mean? Like, not like it wasn't, but like, having Bill Belichick talk about it on the draft.
Right.
You know what I mean? Stuff like that is just so cool. Like, and it's good for our kids and our high school football coaches and programs. You know what I mean? Now, there's a lot of jealousy people out there that and people ask me, how do you select? Well, we get about 225 teams that, send something in that want to be in it. It takes 2 teams to tango. You know what I mean? Like, it's not easy to, and you guys know, being high school coaches, everybody's looking for a win. You know what I mean? Not for nothing. Like, we want to play a competitive game, but we want to win that competitive game. You know what I mean? So, like, I can get a team, and then I get you matched up with a team, and I've had so many teams turn those games down. You know what I mean? So people are like, why isn't Bosco in it, or why isn't? And it's not that Bosco doesn't want to be in it. It just it takes 2 teams to play those guys. You know what I mean? Like, so
right.
And that's the hard part that we did so far. So we get so many negative things about why isn't so many other teams in it? Well, it's not in it because like the teams that they want to play don't want to play them. You know what I mean? Or the team I can get you to play, you don't want to play. You know what I mean? So,
right.
And that's been the hard part. You know what I mean? So it's not, we're going to year 5, and our lineup this year is great. Now we're going to Rowan for 2 days this year because
that's really cool too.
And that's for us in South Jersey. That's where our sectional titles games used to be played. But next year we have all 3 days at Ocean City. So we'll be back all full time for the next 7 years after, all at Ocean City. So like, you know what I mean? We get that Ocean City feel back for 7 straight years. So it's like I said, we've raised enough money to help out charities in our own programs, and the people. It takes it takes a lot to run this thing. It takes a lot of my time up in the off season running it. With assurances and we get ESPN to come and all that kind of stuff. So, but it's more along the lines of And listen, people don't know, it's only $12. You can see 4 high school football games for $12. And so you get a wristband for the entire day. You can come in and out for the entire day. And it's something that we try to get the family feel back to. But realistically, our main focus now isn't just on South Jersey, but we want to make sure that New Jersey, gets the respect in football that, a lot of national people don't give New Jersey that respect. You know what I mean? Where we got some legit programs here. You know what I mean? In this state. And I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say it right now, and people are going to get mad. But Winslow, for instance, like how Winslow is not ranked number 2 in the state. You know what I mean? How they're not in the top 300. It's crazy to me. You know what I mean? So that program, Bergen Catholic's going to come down here and, third week of the season and play Winslow at Winslow. You know what I mean? Like, I'm getting a lot of heat. Like, oh, Winslow can't stay with IMG. You know what I mean? It's just a stupid move. Why? You know what I mean? The Winslow trying to put themselves on the map.
Yeah. He wants to make a statement. I'll play whoever, wherever, whenever, because you know what? I believe in my team. I believe in my players. Get it done. Let's go roll the dice and go.
Yeah,
I respect guys like that.
People in New Jersey are sending me messages like, this is the stupidest matchup ever. Like, why for New Jersey is it stupid? Okay. You know what I mean? We have a public school willing to take on a national powerhouse who the chips are against them, but why is it bad for New Jersey? Like, I don't understand why it's bad for New Jersey. Other schools should be, stepping in and want to play those kind of schools as well. You know what I mean? Bergen did it last year. St. Joe's from Philly did it the year before. You know what I mean? Like, getting IMG here helps the entire state. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, they're going to recruit my kids. Stop, man. Like, first of all, if IMG comes to Collingswood and recruit one of my kids, I'm happy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who's upset about it?
Shit.
Yeah, dude. Like, what?
If IMG's recruiting your kid, he's probably going anyway. So
exactly. So like, it's just you should see how many bad emails I get off of it. It's pure nonsense. But like, we're proud where it's at. It's a great day. It's a great event, and we try to bring the best matchups possible. Like Cedar Creek loves to play North Jersey schools because Coach Melody's from. You know what I mean? Up there.
Yeah. He's been on, Coach Melody. I played with Coach Melody in college. Like he's
Oh,
willing to roll. Like he just
dude.
let's go. Like I'll play. Like that's what it is. 'Cause
Correct.
otherwise, you're not seeing those matchups until December, right? So like
Right.
let's kick it off with this, right? Like I mean, look, you look at college football, the college football model. Like guys go for layups week 1, and then some guys will go battle out, Clemson and whoever, like in the biggest matchup of the opening weekend, right? So guys do it differently. Coach, I was fortunate enough to play in it 2 years when I was at St. John Vianney. It's just a great event. No matter you're matched up, you're there. It's just it kicks off the season in a different way, than it does if you're just playing a regular week 0 game. It's really awesome.
And like again, I get there's no like some schools give me there's no point for me to play this school because you know what I mean. Like I mean it's a recruiting thing, Coach. I understand that, but like Millville played St. Peter. You know what I mean? St. Augustine played St. Peter's 3 years ago. You know what I mean? Like everything's a recruiting thing nowadays in public schools. Like you know what I mean? Like 7-on-7s are recruiting things all days nowadays. I gotta go to 7-on-7 in West Stafford and hope I come home with the same kids. You know what I mean? That ain't in another school by the end of the night. You know what I mean? Like it's all a recruiting thing. But like why won't Millville? Why won't some of these big Catholic schools and parochial schools play in Millville? You know what I mean? Like I had to go get a team in Pittsburgh to play them a couple years ago. No, I get it. They're good. You know what I mean? I get nothing out of playing Millville. Why don't you? Like you get a good football game out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and that's where I disagree to a lot of extent of it. But it takes 2 to tango. But my thing is like why do we not want to play against the premier, top of what you could possibly get at? And now with the PowerPoint system, you're getting parochial schools, you're getting seeded anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Right.
Public schools, Winslow can lose 2 games and it'll still be the number 1 seed in Group 4. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So it's
you're not going to lose anything by coming in and losing. That's what they're
right.
scared
And I'm
of,
glad that the state redid the thing where we can play out of state schools now. Like they're that was just a stupid rule. You know what I mean? It takes away from our kids. Making a name for himself against other out of state schools. You know what I mean? Like So like for me, I got no ties to Bergen Catholic. You know what I mean? I seen Bergen Catholic play for the first time. You know what I mean? Last year at Battle Beach, and it was watching those guys warm up. I'm out there learning stuff for my own program. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm trying to figure out things I can help my program with. But I can't wait to cheer for them against East St. Louis.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Sense of pride within the state itself.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? And there's so many haters, man. It just cracks me up, man. It really does. And yeah, we want to get more schools involved. Next year we'll try to go to a 5 schedule day, where we can get some different kind of schools involved. But like everyone says to me this matchup, and I'm just like, guys, they don't want that. You know what I mean? Like it's no one, like the teams I've reached out to, don't want to play that matchup. You know what I mean? And I don't want to call it certain schools out and teams out, but we try to reach out to returning state and sectional champions first. You know what I mean? Because they're the teams that they're our best teams. So we try to get the premier events and then try to help a struggling program here and there to play game 1 or game 2 to get their get a little jolt in their program if they can, to try to help them as well. But a lot of those programs, and again, I get it. Coaches don't want to go outside of their norm. I'm one of those kind of guys. You know what I mean? But I would love to get Rumson Fairhaven in this thing. I would love to get what's the shore school that runs a triple option at Camden?
Point Borough.
Yeah, like I would love. I mean, I love it. I reach out to those guys every year. Sometimes it just doesn't fit. You know what I mean? But hopefully next year we go to a new cycle for West Jersey, so where those teams can and they can fit in their schedule. But like people like Delaware, Delaware starts a week later, so we can't get them.
Same with like New York. Same with like any New York school.
So
they can't. Yeah. So like if you were to get like say like a Middletown down in Delaware who played like an RBC this year, like that would be off schedule for them because they just can't do it. So some people don't know the logisticals of even that stuff, dude. That
that's what I mean. And everybody's like, you guys,
certain states can't play. So
correct. South Jersey's scared of playing Delaware, Middletown South, or whatever. I'm like, no, dude. Like we can't play them. They're not ready. They don't open up their season. And like next year, the way the season works out for us, we'll be able to get we'll get St. Joe's Prep PA. They'll be able to come back into it and all those kind of things.
Right.
So, like they're going to play for RBC, Red Bank Catholic, I think next year at Battle of the Beach. So, but like I said, like it's people they don't realize it takes a lot to run, and all of our money's going back to charity. Like, you know what I mean? We've helped so many, Cleft No Palate. We've helped, the Touchdown Club of South Jersey. It wouldn't be here without it. Last year we started the South Jersey Coach Association Hall of Fame again. We inducted 5 new guys, and we got 5 new guys going back in it this year. We get them rings. Pretty cool, you know what I mean? Like, so it's just stuff that we, since we don't have an all-star game here that we still trying to work on, but we can't get coaches to agree on. It's just something where we're allowed to. The Battle Beach has given us opportunity to bring some traditions back and, and get some good football matchups. You know what I mean? Like it's our main goal. Like, IMG and those guys bring in a lot of like the buzz, but some of those other games have been better football games. You know what I mean?
Right,
so,
of course, absolutely. Yeah.
No doubt about it, Coach. Well, it's been great having you on. Really, really appreciate you taking all this time. It's awesome talking to you.
You too, man.
Really a lot of fun. And
no problem. If you ever want to have us on, man, or you ever want to do anything, let us know, man. If you want to do a podcast from Battle of the Beach, we got you guys, man.
Okay. That sounds good.
That sounds great, Coach.
Yeah,
love
dude,
it.
you can go live from the beach. Bring wife and the family, man. Be live from the beach Saturday morning. You know what I mean? Right there on the boardwalk, dude.
That sounds good to me.
We'll save a spot for you guys, man.
All right. Listen, me and Derek will talk about this right off we get off the phone.
Yeah, man. We had a couple years ago, a couple podcasts going on. So, you know
yeah,
what I mean?
awesome.
Like, if you guys
ever
want
to
get in, let me know, man. We'll take care of you guys.
All right, Mike. It was great having you, dude.
Man, we'll talk
no problem, guys.
Thank
Have
you,
a good
Coach.
summer, man.
Have a good day. Take care.
Care.
Thank you, Coach.
That was great.
He's the man, dude. He's awesome.
It really a lot of interesting topics. What's the date on the Battle of the Beach? What is the date?
I'm not sure.
I'll look at it. It's the last week in August, usually, right?
Yeah, it's week 0. It's like week 0, so it's usually like around the last week in August. And like I said, they got a really good lineup this year. Like I'm really interested because even talking to Tony Holler, like that team from that's like one of the best teams out there.
You guys are you guys? No, you're not in. Are you guys in it? Or
we
not?
don't have it. No. Nope. I haven't been in it since I was with SJV. We played RBC the first year, and then we played Hamilton the next year.
Is RBC in it or no?
Nope. Because they're playing Middletown. Actually, they open up against Toms River North, and then they play Middletown week 2 or week 0, week 1, I think it is.
Oh, Middletown, Delaware.
Yeah, they're going home. Yeah, this is the second year they're playing them home and home. Last year last year they went down to Middletown. This year they'll come to RBC.
I thought they weren't going to do it again. I didn't realize that they were.
They worked it out.
They worked it out. Oh, cool.
It's awesome.
Are they going down there then?
Middletown's coming up here.
Oh, they're coming up here. Last year they went there. Oh,
last year RBC went there. Yeah.
Oh wow, that should be good.
Yeah. Should be.
Yeah, that should be really good. That'll be interesting. All right. I guess we'll get off. That was a long
good
pod.
Stuff.
Great pod. He's good. He's good, man.
Dude, a lot of years. You can tell like there's a lot stacked against him in terms of like what he has to deal with and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, he hasn't had a feeder program since there, look, picks up his kids, brings them where it is, dude. Like he does a lot. You can tell, like,
yeah,
Group 2 program. So I give him a lot of credit, man. And he coaches girls basketball. You know what I mean? Like he's in it. He is in it. So good for him. Need more guys like that though.
Definitely do. All right. When are we back?
Friday
we got who?
Greg Burge, motivational.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's what we were talking about the other day, right?
Yep.
Perfect. All right.
Awesome.
Till Friday.
Till next time.
Yeah, the next